Vroom, vroom, screech, crash, crash, crash. Today I invite you to take my crash course on liability. One of the questions that I get asked by my customers all the time as an insurance agent is how much liability coverage do I really need? And in order to answer that question, I want you to think about three considerations. One is from a net worth point of view. Two is from a riskiness point of view, and three is from how likely that riskiness or a problem is actually going to lead to a full-fledged lawsuit. For the first one, net worth, think about all of your assets, money that you have in your checking and savings account, money that you have in investments, the equity that you have in your car, or if it's paid off and you own it free and clear, the entire value of the car, money that you have in your house or houses potentially. Again, if you own it free and clear without a mortgage, you want to account for the entire value of that house. All of these things are part of your net worth, and they can potentially be lost if somebody were to sue you. But it's not just about what you have right now, it's also about how much you could potentially earn sometimes. Let's take an extreme example of, say, a Harvard graduate, someone who just got out of college and has not yet started working. One night he's at a friend's party, drinking, and then he makes the egregious decision afterwards to drive home intoxicated. On the way home, he hits somebody and kills them. In this kind of situation, most likely the courts would have absolutely no mercy on him. And just because he has no money right now doesn't mean that he has nothing to lose. They could choose to put a lien on his future income, his future earnings for the next 10 years. And being fresh out of Harvard, he is a very promising individual, maybe not so much anymore now, but he potentially still has a lot of income that will be generated in the next 10 years. So it's not just about how much you have currently, it's also about how much you can potentially make. The second point that I wanted to bring you to think about is also riskiness. Riskiness that has to do with your character, your lifestyle, your behavior. For cars, it has to do with how safe of a driver you may be. If you talk on the phone constantly or send text messages while you're driving. And for homeowners, it has to do with how well you maintain the property, how safe of a homeowner you are. One example that a lot of my customers don't realize is the classic example of somebody tripping and suing you at your house. And this, believe it or not, is actually a real concern. Many people don't realize that the sidewalk in front of their house is the homeowner's responsibility to maintain, not the city's. Even though it's for public use, an area as high traffic as the sidewalk gets passersby day in and day out. It's just a matter of time that sooner or later somebody who's not watching where they're going ends up tripping and falling over a bump that there may be in the sidewalk. And believe it or not, most cities actually have a building code or a municipal code stating that the bump cannot be higher than half an inch. And if you have a bump, such a bump that's higher than half an inch, then it's your responsibility to patch it or somehow do away with it and fix it so that it's no longer there. The third consideration that I wanted to bring your attention to is how likely a problem will actually lead to a lawsuit. Because just because there's a problem doesn't necessarily mean there will be a lawsuit. The classic example would be a doctor. There are countless articles around stating how one of the things that has the biggest impact if a doctor accidentally commits a mistake or malpractice, the thing that has the biggest impact on whether or not that doctor will be sued is how heartfelt, immediate, and honest and sincere their apology is to the patient. Say he is doing a surgery and accidentally removes the wrong kidney from the patient's body, leaving the diseased kidney inside. As soon as he finds out, if he gives the most sincerest apology he's ever given in his life and really takes all of his time and gives full effort to try to apologize and correct and mitigate the problem, to reduce it and make it better, then sometimes that can actually be a world of difference. A huge egregious error like removing the wrong kidney can sometimes not lead to a lawsuit because of an apology. On the converse, there are some things when even the most minor thing can lead to a lawsuit. Take, for example, if you drive around regularly in a very wealthy, affluent area like Beverly Hills, where anybody and everybody has their own personal attorney or is themselves an attorney. These people have a lot of resources and they can sue you for the most minor of accidents just because they can. And unfortunately, that's also why the car insurance rates typically are the highest in Beverly Hills in the entire country. Finally, to summarize, I've talked to you about net worth and income as a gauge for how much coverage you may need, also riskiness for how badly you may need it, and the likelihood for that problem to actually turn into a lawsuit. Even if you have all the money in the world, say you're a billionaire or trillionaire, and you have the most unsafe lifestyle, most unsafe practices and behavior. Say when you're driving, you're taking pictures of people around you or things around you, you're sending text messages, and you're a homeowner and your front yard is, say, laced with knives and booby traps. Even just because you have all the money and you have a super dangerous lifestyle situation doesn't necessarily mean that you need the liability coverage more than anybody. Say, even a simple thing like, say, you choose to be a recluse and live alone out in the desert. The fact that you have nobody around you, no neighbors, no nothing, anybody ever gracing your presence, can change everything. Because there's nobody around to suffer the consequences of being around you, nobody's going to get hurt and nobody's going to sue you. So liability has all to do with your relation with society around you, and if you're unfortunately in the position of somebody potentially wanting to sue you, hopefully your ability to connect with society or the person or victim and get them onto your side. In conclusion, I hope that you've learned a thing or two from my crash course on liability, and the next time that you talk to your insurance agent, you not only check with them to make sure that you have enough coverage, perhaps you can even teach them a thing or two at this point about how to calculate liability coverage, so that the next time you're driving down the 10 freeway and you hear that miserable crash, 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 you can rest easy that you have the proper coverage. Thank you.